So here we have a couple DIY hog feeders, but they could both be repurposed to feed other animals. Both built off of ideas generally found pretty commonly on the internet. This one's simply a barrel inverted over two troughs that open up with the animal's face or by some other means, and they eat out of there. Everything drains down through the barrel. Or this one, which is the Jordan Green style hog feeder. You can figure out how to build it from his videos on, I believe it's FarmBuilder is his channel. And I have suggested improvements on both of them. So for this one, I used scrap lumber. I built this very cheaply. If you wanted it to last, pressure treated is the way to go. For the hinges, they got to be robust hinges, or anything bigger than, you know, a very small pig is going to tear them right off. Additionally, another mechanism better than what I have with this little seatbelt strap here to hold the barrel in place. Otherwise, when this gets empty or empty-ish, the animals are just going to knock it over. And again, I used repurposed pallet wood, so you can see there's like a nail poking out there. Probably not the best idea. I've never had any problems from it, but this could be definitely better. I don't know that I'll ever build one again. This is good for a couple animals, but nothing to the scale I'm at now. On this one, it worked very well for me for what it is, right? Kind of more expensive than the other one to build. This is probably a couple years ago about $300 in materials. That 6-inch pipe at the bottom, not super easy to come across. The one that you can barely see there is just a half piece of 6-inch PVC. And then the baffles. Build this whole thing out of pressure treated if you do. And then your weakest spot is going to be this IBC tote. So over time, you can find a variety of ways to improve it. I built a frame, a wooden frame up there to pour the feed through, but I could have done this better by maybe putting some kind of PVC capping on there or something to make it easier to get the bags in. If you follow Mr. Green's recommendations, I would make the slit across the bottom smaller than recommended, both in width and length, so that it comes short by, I would say, 8 or 9 inches from each side, and then it's only an inch or so wide at its widest point in the middle. That way, the pigs are going to work the feed. It's going to flow just fine. But having that slit less would eliminate this dent, right? The pigs are going to want to eat from every access point. So they're going to eventually shove their faces in there and create that, which screws it all up, right? And food is not going to flow properly. Additionally, you'll have less food caked in here. While this thing does produce its own drip line and shed most of the water, if you get a good rain, you're going to have to be in here cleaning this out. And there's a lot of nooks and crannies in there where your food's going to collect and kind of rot. It doesn't really bother the pigs, but it does make it a pain, and eventually it'll gum up the works so that you don't have food flowing at all. The last thing is, I probably left these bolts a little long. I used this for years and never had a problem with a pig hurting itself, but I see that as a slight risk, right? So I would probably cut those bolts off. Either way, if you're going to DIY build a hog feeder or any other animal feeder, these are both good models. I would just make some changes to the original plans, and certainly you can see the difference between where the pressure treated lumber is held up and then my repurposed lumber is essentially rotten at this point. 3 years out in the weather will do that. So I hope that helps.